Tonight, photographic evidence of Lisa Page and other top-ranking officials in London, and we talk about the Hawaiian missile alert. Was there a real missile fired at Air Force One that was intercepted by F-16s? Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, every episode starts the same way. I say thank you, and I'm so thankful and grateful to each and every one of my subscribers. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please come here, hit the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you'll be notified as soon as these videos get posted, because as soon as information is made available to me, I make it available to you. Now, in this episode, we're going to cover a little bit more on what's going on with Facebook and Twitter. We're going to cover a lot of Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. We're going to talk about what happened in Hawaii, and we're going to cover a few different topics, all the way to the fact that if you guys have been paying attention, you'll know that Isaac Cappy, this guy's come forward. He's been making a lot of pretty wild accusations. And I actually had a conversation with him last night via direct message on Twitter, and I just want to give you an update on that and what's going on there and get your take on it. But before we go there, we're going to start at the beginning. This is the latest Q post. Here are the last few Q posts. If you guys want to get caught up to where we're at, I encourage you to come back here, watch this video or these last few videos. They're all going to cover the latest Q posts in detail. And they're just great places to start if you want to get caught up. If you're asking yourself, what's Q right now, and you don't know what QAnon is, come watch this video. Even if you do know what Q is, there's a lot of information in there about how you can do research and follow on the boards and all of that stuff, including where to find info and so on. So that's where you want to go if you want to get started with it. But for now, we're going to go right into the latest Q post, and you guys stick around because we got a lot to cover here. That's going to be very interesting. First, here's Q saying, Twitter near 20% slide, Facebook near 20% slide, all because of missed earnings. What does the street know? Insiders dumping. DC moves slows at Jack, or DC moves slow at Jack. Mark Zuckerberg, your hands are dirty. Q. Okay, so this is obviously a reference back to this post here where it was talking about how the investors are trying to strip Zuckerberg of his chairman title and they're going to take back that company basically. And it's talking about something that happened in DC with the regulatory process that has basically cause the insiders to start dumping the stock based on knowledge they have of something that's upcoming. Now, the speculation is basically that both these individuals were either working with somehow some of the intelligence agencies, somehow taking funding through that. And the reason they're missing their revenue projections is because a large portion of their revenue is being removed, which was the funding they were receiving from intelligence agencies, allegedly. So if that is the case, if that is true, then there you go. I mean, that's a huge indicator that everyone's jumping ship. Now, I had said in the last video that it's a good time to go in and buy Facebook stock. Obviously, I'm not giving financial advice. That's the last thing I want to do. But I've heard a lot of people give a contrary look at this. They're actually expecting Mark Zucker and Jack to step down or to be removed, in which case you may want to hold off on buying that stock and let the stock dip a little bit more and just wait and see approach here. But a lot of people I know have been reading about have been short selling and basically banking on what the information is we're getting here from Q, that they're going to continue to slide. But I'm not here to give you financial advice. That's the last thing I want to do. I just wanted to throw that out there and give you guys all sides of it because that's what I've been gleaning and getting from the information I've been covering. So you guys will let me know what you think about that. But this is pretty obvious. You know, the insiders are dumping it. DC is going to do something big. They have done something big. I mean, you have Mark Zuckerberg. He sold off his shares a long time ago, he announced it back in January. And I think there was a waiting period that he had to wait until he could actually dump the stock. And I think we've reached that now. And here you have this article just kind of reiterating what we've covered here, that, you know, you have Twitter that's down 19% after its third quarter outlook was well below forecast. And Facebook already hit that 20% loss the other day. So there's a lot to this. And you guys will let me know what you think down in the comments. Because like I said, I'm not an economic expert, but I do know that there's a lot more to this than just the economics of it. So if you guys want to chime in, that's great. I'd really love to hear it. Now, the next one. When does a bird sing? Q. And it gives this picture. Well, this picture is, we'll see in the later post, this woman right here is apparently Lisa Page. So my guess is that this group that's circled here are the people who went over to London in order to start this whole Steele dossier collection. And who could this gentleman with the white hair be? Possibly No Name McCain. It's possible. I don't know. And that maybe that's Peter Strzok there with Lisa Page, and they're all, holding each other. That's speculation at this point. This image is way too grainy to be able to pull out any actual faces. But Q does tell us in the next one, and the reason I think that that's McCain is because the bird sing is a reference possibly to John McCain, who was known as a songbird in Vietnam when he was picked up and interrogated at the Hanoi Hilton, and he came out looking great, and he was the admiral's son, and there's just a lot of suspicious circumstances around what happened with him. And we've been talking about this guy a lot here on the Q boards. He has been implicated as basically, they allege that he's the ringleader of it all. So one of them, at least, the syndicate in Washington, I should say, the proverbial deep state, if you will. Now, the next post here is the same picture. Q's responding to his own post here, pointing us to this picture, which this is Lisa Page, and that's pointing to her in this photo right here as being Lisa Page. Now, it says, keep your promise. This is not a game, Q. So my thought is, right off the bat, this is a direct message to Lisa Page that she has become a cooperating witness. She's been doing her testifying in front of closed hearings on Capitol Hill, and hopefully she's just telling the truth. Hopefully everything that she's doing is basically exposing the truth, because she's become a cooperating witness, and now she might be getting cold feet. And this is Q saying, look, you made a promise. This is not a game. So if you make a promise, you have to keep a promise, right? So now Q's responding again to his own post here, saying public awareness forces hand, Q. So I think that, this board in and of itself is a way to spread information, obviously, and it's important to know that what we're spreading here is public awareness about things like Lisa Page. What were they doing in London? How is the UK implicated? What were the intelligence agencies working in conjunction to undermine the president of the United States, Trump, during his campaign? These are all very important questions, and not only do they need answers, they need resolution. So we have to figure out what the answer is, and then bring indictments and do whatever the legal process is for bringing charges against these individuals, for they've committed crimes of the highest order. They want to call President Trump guilty of treason. I believe if some of these crimes end up being proven, then you're going to have people being accused or people being indicted for treason. As I said before, January 2019 is when the executive order kicks in for the public officials to actually be able to be court-martialed based off of their actions, which I think is very important to keep in mind. And there we go. So here's July 27th. You have another one here, 11 o'clock. And Q's responding to his own post, and he says, Peter Strzok, round 2, lead investigator, HRC, Russia, Q. So this is what he was, basically. I mean, Peter Strzok was like the lead investigator for Russia and the HRC email scandal, and we're going to not give up on this guy. He is obviously guilty of covering up for a lot of different things, in my personal opinion, but we'd have to let the courts decide that. And he seems guilty, and, that's to me very, very troubling. Now, the next post is responding to this. Again, Q's doing a lot of responding to his own posts here in his own little thread. And it gives us this, right? And if we remember what this is, this was when, February 16, 2018, so way back. And I remember doing this video specifically because when I read this message talking about a possible car attack in London, I was thinking to myself, well, I have to get a video up no matter what. I have to at least let people know, give them a heads up, to keep their eyes open and make sure they stay safe. And then it gave us this picture in the traffic cam that Q was alluding to at the same position, showing what we just saw with possibly Lisa Page and others in the United Kingdom. And then it says UK stay alert Q. Now, Q's going to explain here in the next one, it was a warning to the UK and decipher regarding last redacted FISA Q. and redacted FICE is in the kill box in brackets here, the metaphorical kill box. And what's important to kind of take away from this is that you have deciphering regarding the last is pretty interesting. We're putting it all together. The redacted part of the FICE, I mean, this is just my initial take on it, is all talking about how the lead investigator in HRC Russia was involved in all these clandestine operations that were obviously strategized and set up by the former administration in order to spy on the president in conjunction and with help from the United Kingdom and their intelligence agencies. And what's very interesting to note is that the bureau in the Central Intelligence Bureau in London is one of the places that we've been examining closely as well. And I believe people are actually under investigation for their involvement with that. So, but I'll think we get to that later here. So here's what it is. The next post is Q responding to his own post again. And it's got this. It's a picture of what looks to be like a power box or something. And it's got a sticker that says hashtag QAnon with the white rabbit and says the storm is coming. Now, I was on the Anon boards when I saw this picture getting thrown around, and it was apparently, this is a picture from the UK. I want to say it's somewhere near Westminster that they've been seeing these stickers put up, and somebody took a picture and put it up there. So Q wanted to point to that. So that's important. All right, now, and who knows, we talked about in the last video hiding messages and pictures. Any of these pictures I think could hold any kind of message you could imagine. So don't forget that. We talked about Pixel. It was called Pixelnaut, and yeah, that's the program. So going right into the next one, let's read through this. And this is a post that's Q's pointing us back to. It's a post from Q from June 27th. So exactly 1 month ago to the day and almost to the time, I believe. So here it is. It says, Peter Strzok, quote, text taken out of context. Peter Strzok, while emotional over the election, I conduct myself with utmost integrity without bias while undertaking any such investigation, especially a high-profile case against the POTUS. Peter Strzok again, in hindsight, it was a bad idea to openly discuss my feelings, but in no way did those feelings impact my ability to conduct a fair and proper investigation. We followed where the facts took us. And Peter Strzok again, I decline to answer that question on advice from counsel. When you state where facts led us, what facts are you referring to? To date, there has been zero evidence of any such collusion or connections between the Trump campaign and Russia. In fact, the only facts discovered thus far have been between the Clinton camp and Russia and other foreign groups. Peter Strzok, on advice of counsel, I decline to answer that question. Peter Strzok, because of the ongoing investigation, such answers may violate the security of such investigations. And remember, these were like allegedly excerpts from the closed door session that happened behind closed doors on Capitol Hill with only members of Congress and Peter Strzok and his legal helpers there. So don't forget that. And this is the response. It's an unnamed person, I'm assuming a senator or somebody who was giving, or a representative who was questioning, saying, Mr. Strzok, I believe nobody here is buying what you are selling. I believe there is a serious effort on the part of people more senior than you to remove Mr. Trump from office out of fear of what this administration may uncover. I believe you are being dishonest in your answers and frankly shocked you agreed to come here today. I believe everyone on this panel, minus those from the other side of the aisle, knew exactly what your answers would be. And if you think we are going to sit here and accept these answers, you would be a fool. We are also following the facts, and once we uncover more, which we will act accordingly. I'm glad you retained counsel. You'll need one, and hopefully that they are very good. Q. That's Q signing off there. So here it is. I mean, this is what is being suggested by lawmakers who are actually doing the questioning behind closed doors, according to Q. And they're actually saying, look, we know that it was you and higher ups who were involved in trying to sabotage and undermine the President of the United States. But it goes so much deeper, guys, and we're going to cover some crazy stuff here, so stick around. All right, so this is where that is. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, the next post is what we're going to talk about with this missile thing here, but then we're going to talk about this one first. So it's an Anon who said, and Q just pointed us to this Anon post because apparently there's important information to take away from it. But it says, Gina Haspel, the CIA London station, is the main center of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency in the UK. Station chief of station, unnamed woman, C 2009. Those ordered to testify include the former CIA chief Porter J. Gross. Another is a woman who is not publicly named who heads the agency's London station. She previously worked as the chief of staff for the head of the CIA's clandestine branch, Jose Rodriguez, who is the focus of the investigation. So it takes you to this article, and this article is from 2009. And it's about how the CIA deleted a bunch of videotapes that were made of recording the torture and interrogation of Al-Qaeda detainees. Now, few things I thought were interesting in reading through this article. First of all, is that what the Anon says in the post here is interesting. They name Gina Haspel, and then they go on to say, in the article, it talks about an unnamed woman who is being included in the testimony who's testifying against what's going on there. And could that unnamed woman be Gina Haspel? And then is this article basically referring to the impunity with which the people who committed these crimes were given the latitude to act within? Because it says here that President Obama has since pledged, and this is talking about as of 2009 when this was written, pledged not to prosecute individual agents for their part in torture and interrogations because they were assured by the Bush administration that their actions were legal. Again, it's pointing this to the fact that, these people like Lisa Page and them, they're literally being given orders under the pretense of legal activities. And that's how they get away with it. And that it was all done through the CIA station in the UK. This whole Steele dossier thing is what I'm referring to. The FISA warrant that was gotten with the ill-gotten Steele dossier that was fake and fabricated and basically created and manufactured by the same people who were using it to spy on the President of the United States. But if you have another take on that, I'd love to hear it. If you guys have another way of reading that, that's kind of what I read off of it. So I just wanted to share that one. Now, the next one is this. Obviously, this is the picture that we were given that they told us was a helicopter. No, it's a weather balloon. No, it's fireworks. I mean, we all know what this is. This is a missile. Now, why is this important? Well, because the media just can't get their story straight, and it's quite disturbing. Q says, unauthorized missile fired. Unauthorized emergency incoming missile threat activated Hawaii. POTUS Air Force One. POTUS reroutes. Coincidence? No MSM coverage or no MSM investigations. Biggest threat to the American people, Q. Now, for those of you who don't remember, we had in Hawaii the scare that basically, if you guys will recall, was pretty serious given the fact that we saw that the emergency broadcast system actually went off and warned people that there was a missile incoming, right? And they didn't know what it was. It scared all the people. It terrified them. And it's being suggested now by Q that missile was fired by the deep state, as he suggested before. They suggested before. But not only was it fired by the deep state, but it was fired with the intention of possibly going after Air Force One. I mean, was it actually fired at Air Force One, or was it fired somewhere near? Or was it fired at Hawaii while POTUS was traveling? I don't know. But what I do know is that Q tells us in the next post that that there were F-16s, obviously with or near the president's plane or around that area where the missile was fired from, that shot down this missile. And you go, can F-16s shoot down, supersonic missiles? Yes. And apparently that's another thing that we're being told by Q. So this is getting more and more crazy as we go along. But my first take on this is that it's all referring back to what happened in Hawaii. Now, if you go and just simply put in the search for it, you get all these different stories. None of them really make sense. You have the Washington Post reporting that there was a drop down button that they hit the wrong button and it made the wrong message. But then here you have CNN with one of the workers, an anonymous worker from the facility, talking about how there was a conference call that he didn't hear the word exercise, and because he didn't hear that, he put out threat, or he thought that it was real. And there's no real straight story, and there's no like further coverage on it either. It was just kind of swept right under the rug really quickly and washed right out of the news cycle very quickly. And you wonder why. Well, most people on the boards and everywhere, on every forum I've read through, say the same thing. I mean, the suggestion being made by Q is an allegation that there was actually some sort of deep state hand in it, and that because the mainstream media is basically the propaganda arm of the deep state, that was why it was washed out so quickly, and that we haven't heard any follow-up real investigations to it besides pretty tame stuff, just following up with people who survived, I guess, if you will, if you could even call it that. It must have been very scary, I'm sure, but this is just crazy, right? So that's the misinformation you get. I mean, just type into Google, and I love how Google is just the worst search engine on the world. Vox, GQ, one Wikipedia article, which is like Wikipedia is half good, half bad, and mostly crazy half the time. It's hard to get. It's a good resource, but it's not really the end all for research. And then you have CNN and CBS and the New York Times and the Washington Post, Newsweek, CNN again. I didn't see one Fox News article. I don't see one article from anything, Breitbart or any mildly conservative or even moderate news publication organization. It's just these radical left-wing nut job news organizations that you get when you search. So that's why you go to DuckDuckGo, but there's certain things that Google can do that some other search engines just can't, unfortunately. So here is that one. Now we'll go to the next one where it says, where did the missile go? Blown up in sky? And literally Q, and this is what Q says, F-16s intercept Q. Then another anon asks, an F-16 can shoot a missile out of the air? And then Q responds, special weapons package, class 5. So a lot of people are asking, where did the F-16s come from? So if I'm putting this together correctly, which I hope I am, I suspect that this is the best I can put it together to now, but if you guys have a better take, surely let me know. This missile was allegedly shot at Air Force One. Air Force One always travels with a detail of F-16s, I would assume, or some kind of fighter planes that are there to basically act as escorts, and it's a defensive thing. And they were scrambled and they shot down this missile with some special, probably next generation class 5 weapons. Wow. I don't even know what to say. That's incredible. And the next post is even more incredible. It says, who has the authority to launch a missile? Q said unauthorized. So given chain of, and then Q responds, and that's an anon posting, and Q responds, given chain of command process to launch, what does this tell you? Classified removal, Washington, minutes after Q. So this one I'm like thinking, okay, well, what does Q mean? Classified removal, Washington, minutes after, or wash? Maybe not Washington. Maybe they're washing it away. So there had to have been a chain of command. There had to have been a process for which to launch this missile. I mean, I'm assuming it's not just reality winner sitting in a submarine, watching, Antifa propaganda, psychotically pressing buttons and launching missiles, right? I don't think that's the case. So it had to have been given as an order. Who gave that order? What classified order was given? It was removed and washed minutes after. I don't know, it was a fake order that was planted. I mean, think about it. If somebody could get a fake order out to one of our subs, maybe it was our own sub thinking they were getting a real order. I don't know. But regardless, it's quite disturbing to think about what the implications of this would be. Then Q responds again, specific reason for the reminder. Everything stated has a purpose, Q. So my thought is, this is, obviously we've already talked about this. We've talked about Hawaii. We talked about what happened. But now we're getting a few more details that are fascinating. And there's a reason this is being brought up now. And I think it's a message being sent, because this board sends messages out to people everywhere, I suspect, in all levels of this. So if that is the case, there's a message being sent here, and it's obviously something that had to be reiterated. So we'll have to wait and see. But if any of this is true, I mean, we all know this is basically treason of the highest order. So I don't even know what to say besides these people will pay for their crimes. That's the best I can give you right now. Now, again, we have Q posting an old Q post here talking about Facebook, right? It says, Facebook is listening to you 24/7, 365. Literally, F9 algorithm. Are they recording safe housing, metadata collection, building 8, DARPA, China, Q? So it says, who recently pulled out of Facebook? Artificial support? What events recently occurred in China regarding Facebook? And it gives an article here to the New York Times talking about how China has quickly withdrawn approval for the new Facebook venture. So this was, they appeared in a Chinese government database for like a few hours or a day or two, and then they got removed very quickly. And why was that? It's because and we'll talk about it. It says, why did China suddenly reverse course? The more you know, Q. Okay, so all of this is pretty interesting if you look at it in its entirety. We were given this back in May, and it basically was talking about how the Facebook app is always listening to you. So if you have that Facebook app on your phone, you've given permissions, and there's secret algorithms that basically record everything. That being said, those algorithms that record everything are, that's why when you open up your phone and you scroll through Facebook, you have an advertisement that's exactly what you were just talking about 10 minutes before. Or if you go on your internet, the ads on your Facebook feed on your computer, on your laptop, are going to be exactly what you've been discussing in your private home without any knowledge of them actually recording it, but they are. But just as the NSA has recorded everything, all of the information, and put it into these large metadata server farms, right? The deal with China was to do the same thing. That's what it was. They were going to use this F9 algorithm in order to record and safe house all of the metadata that they could collect. That's what Building 8 over at Facebook's been working on with the Chinese. There's so many connections to China between Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. I mean, his wife, I know she's Asian. I don't know if she's actually Chinese, but I know that there's reports of Mark Zuckerberg going over to China and asking Xi Jinping to name his kid for him. I mean, it's crazy stuff, right? And DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, they're the ones responsible for HARP and all the other crazy next level stuff that we do. But what was their involvement? Are there people, former members of DARPA, that were working with Facebook and Building 8 in order to create these server farms to collect all this information on everyone using Facebook? I mean, could you imagine if China, the Chinese government, were able to take all the information, the metadata that's collected by everybody who has the Facebook app, and that includes politicians, that includes business officials in our country, and they could use that information against our politicians, against the people that run companies, the people who, judges, whatever, anyone they wanted to use to put influence on, they could use if they had this information. So think of the grand nature of this scheme that Facebook was basically trying to pull off, allegedly. That they were going to collect all this information, give it to the Chinese, let the Chinese use it for their benefit, and then depend on the Chinese for their protection. Because, like I said before, the biggest threat to our country is China, and most of the big politicians who are corrupt, the biggest, loudest voices up there, most of them, I believe, have sold us completely out to the Chinese and are terrified of the Chinese because they just are weak. They're ineffectual leaders. And they rolled over at the first sign of a real threat. And that's exactly what is being insinuated here by Q. So taking all this and putting it together in context with what's going on, I mean, that would make sense why China suddenly reversed the course, because we found it out and we are shutting it down. And it's like all the way back here, the first post that we talked about, where Q says, "Your hands are dirty," at Jack and Mark Zuckerberg. Could you imagine if both these guys were selling that information they collect to the Chinese, and then allowing the Chinese to use that to blackmail officials, to gain influence, to do all types of crazy things, probably steal intellectual property, among so many other crimes that could be committed just by having that information. And so the picture's finally starting to come together, and I'm thankful that we're finally seeing it for what it is. Now, the next one is a very interesting post here. Q gives us a little hint, because, so I guess President Trump said after leaving Iowa that he ducked the media and cites that there was bad weather despite clear skies as he leaves for Iowa. And so the Anon says he posts this article, and it says, "POTUS ducks reporters because we are in the storm." And yes, we are. The storm is what we call this that we're going through. And Q responds, "A message that nobody but who understands," and that's us here on the boards. And that's why it's so important, because the messages are coming to us because of a reason. We're the people who are going to take this information and spread it and tell our friends and spread these links and spread the articles and go do your own research and figure out more, because this information needs to get out there, and it's the information the mainstream media won't cover. That's basically what we do here. So with or without Q, we're going to keep doing it, but it's a heck of a lot more interesting with Q, I will say that. So that is going into our next article, and it says here, this is sick stuff. I hate to have to report, but it says, "There's nothing more precious than our children. Evil has no boundaries." And then it gives this link to a Slayer song. And I guess Slayer is some sort of heavy metal satanic band. That's the best I can put together based off of this album cover and the words in their song. Yeah. But this is what they think, I believe. I don't believe this is Q saying anything other than, when it comes to our children and what's actually going on, this is as bad as it gets. That these people, that the evil has no boundaries, and that they literally worship Satan, and they talk about how they worship Satan. And if you worship Satan, what kind of evil could you be possibly? What kind of evil are you capable of? So I'm not even going to read the lyrics. I mean, they're right here. Because I don't want to say these words, but I mean, you can read them right here on the page. It's evil. It's truly evil. Sick and evil. I don't know how people listen to this music, but to be quite honest, this is what we're up against, and we're going to get into that a little bit when we talk about Isaac Cappy later, and what's going on with all that. So it's sick, but the choice will ultimately be yours. These people are sick. And then it gives a article here that links to what's going on with Les Moonves, the CBS head exec, who actually is coming to under fire today because he's been basically outed by this Ron Farrow guy who started the hashtag Me Too movement as basically a sexual abuser. Now they're in this fight with the Redstones over, I guess, selling CBS, and Moonves doesn't want to, and the Redstones do, I guess, or something like that, whatever it is. And it just talks about how he left his wife for that lady who runs the Big Brother show, the Asian host. And yeah, I mean, it's just sick. And these are the kind of people we're dealing with. And who knows the level of depravity? It goes beyond just what's being reported here about, another example of Hollywood executives or big time media executives using their power to abuse and hurt others. I mean, this guy made almost $70 million in 2016. So, the power that these people yield is incredible. And there's only, so much you can say. It says, "To those who are courageous enough to speak out, we stand with you. You are not alone in this fight. God bless Q." Now, this one, I just really want to talk about it real quick. So, Isaac Cappy, you guys, you can go check out his Twitter. It's at Isaac Cappy. This guy's come out on the scene. He put together all these videos. He's making a lot of accusations about big people in Hollywood. And I'm not going to do anything besides point you guys to him and say you can go check it out for yourself. I did have a conversation with him last night. We talked about a few different things. Sounds like a really nice guy. I think that what he's doing is important, and if the things he's saying are true, then we need to stand behind him and get his message out there. But we need to vet it first and make sure that what he's saying is verifiable. But look, I mean, you guys can go find him. I just posted posted a post to him here on my Twitter at the top. So if you guys want to get more involved with him and find out what he has going on, but he makes some accusations that you guys just have to go read for yourself to get an idea of it. And if that's what Q's referring to, possibly, then we need to support people who do come forward against people in these positions, because it's just the way it is. Now, I'm not going to say whether or not this guy is true or not, or real or not. All I can tell you is how I feel. I feel like he sounds like he's telling the truth. He sounds like he's honestly tired of whatever he was involved in. He wants to come clean, and he's trying to encourage others to come clean about it. That's good. I don't want to get too wrapped up into his thing, because that's going to be his thing. He's going to have to go into those realms and discuss those things, because I'm not an expert on it and I don't have the research to go into those realms yet. But I can tell you right now, I've read all of his posts. I've tried to see what he has to offer, and it's quite disturbing. So if you guys want to get that information, you can come find me at Justin_formed on Twitter. Again, Justin_formed on Twitter. And yeah, that's just crazy stuff, especially talking to him, and he sounds busy, and I, going through a lot right now. So we'll have to see what that all leads up to. All we can do is pray for him right now. And we'll do that. We'll definitely pray for him. Now, the next one is Q posting this picture. What are the odds? Well, you have right here Miss good old Robert Mueller himself sitting right behind or in front of Donald Trump Jr. and Donald Trump Jr.'s Secret Service detail. And it's so funny, the Secret Service guys like eyeing Mueller, because he knows probably how evil Mueller is. Who knows what he would be capable of, right? Former Marine and all. But this is it. This is the picture, and it's saying, look, what are the odds? Well, I don't know. People on the 8chan boards were saying that it's possible they're going to the same place, somewhere in Greenville. I believe Greenville, North or South Carolina, but I'm not sure. And if that is the case, what's in Greenville, but I don't know. And look at this. I mean, this is all you have to see. They're right there next to each other. What are the odds, Q? So he's just sitting there reading a paper, acting all nonchalant. Sorry. Anyway, then we have these 4 device tests. I haven't been able to put together any meaning to this. I'm really looking forward to hear Serial Brain. I'm sure he's got some take on what this means. If there's multiple devices that are being tested, if there's 4 people in the Q collective who have device tests, or 3 people who are testing their devices, or they're testing President Trump's Twitter phone or something. I have no idea, to be quite honest. But you guys let me know what you think. CXE, EXC, executive, execute, I don't know. Bouncing around a few things there, who knows. You guys let me know in the comments, but that pretty much does it for the most part. A couple more things I wanted to cover quickly would be, first, we talked about Isaac Cappy, and I talked about how we had a conversation last night, and he, just basically said, look, I'm telling the truth, and, this is tough, and, he's doing his best, right? So, we'll pray for him, and we'll keep that in our thoughts and prayers as we go forward. But another thing I wanted to do is to talk about President Trump. And so now the news story that the media is running with, which they have a new one every week. They have a new story every week that the President of the United States is going to be brought down by the story that they bring, but then they go to the next week and have to bring another story because each one usually fails pretty quickly. So this is just another one. You have Michael Cohen basically doing what he does best, rat, squirmy, scummy things, and President President Trump addresses this directly. He says, well, I guess we'll read. There's a string of posts here, but we'll read the whole thing. Arrived back in Washington last night from a very emotional reopening of a major U.S. steel plant in Granite City, Illinois, which you guys should watch that speech if you didn't. It's a great speech he gives at the steel plant. So many great little Trumpisms that are just awesome. It says, only to be greeted with the ridiculous news that the highly conflicted Robert Mueller and his gang of 13 angry Democrats obviously cannot find collusion. Then it says the only collusion with Russia was with the Democrats. So now they are looking at my tweets along with 53 million other people. The rigged witch hunt continues. How stupid and unfair to our country. And so the fake news doesn't waste my time with dumb questions. No, I did not know of the meeting with my son, Don Jr. Sounds to me like someone is trying to make up stories in order to get himself out of an unrelated jam. Taxi cabs, maybe? He even retained Bill and Crooked Hillary's lawyer. Gee, I wonder if they helped him make the choice. So what he's saying here is that his lawyer, who turned into the rat and basically turned on him so quick because he's a criminal himself, and secretly recorded the president without his knowledge and has just turned into the rattiest rat you've ever seen in your life. This person now has gone and gotten Bill and Crooked Hillary's lawyer as a retained lawyer defense against the charges that have been brought against him. And I wonder, I mean, this is the president saying it right here. I love President Trump on Twitter. It's so real. It's just the truth. He goes right to it. I wonder if they helped him make the choice. Well, I would presume they did. But hey, that's just one man's opinion. So you guys can go check out President Trump on Twitter if you want to get more of those gems, which are always awesome. And he's right now he's doing a lot of supporting of candidates who are running, but you can go there and get that if you want. So that's kind of a cool thing, and that is something I wanted to address. Now that's going to be, if you guys want to support the channel, the best way to do is to come here to the landing page. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please click the big red subscribe button. That helps out big time, more than you guys can even understand. And also another great way to help is to scroll down at the end of this video, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the comment boards, because like I say, at the end of each one of these videos, we try to have our own QAnon research board. So and it's not just talking about Q posts, it's talking about everything the mainstream media won't cover and everything they cover incorrectly and everything in between: politics, culture, religion, whatever. We cover it all. If you guys want to get involved in that conversation, even if you can't comment, scroll down and read through the comments. You're going to learn something you didn't know previously. But that's going to be basically it. If you're looking for a way to support the channel financially, I really appreciate that you guys come over here to Patreon, patreon.com/justinformedtalk, or search Just Informed Talk. You'll come here to this page, click this button to become a patron. Once you do that, it's a monthly donation, and it helps out big time so I can continue to work and do this 24/7, 365, always bringing you new updated videos on not just Q, but everything the mainstream media won't cover, and everything they cover incorrectly, to be quite honest. So that helps out big time. And if you guys don't want to get involved on a monthly donation basis, I just created an open-ended GoFundMe. You know, I don't expect to hit this goal. I just, you know, if you guys, some people don't like the monthly donation thing. Some people don't like Patreon at all. So if you want to make a donation, you can come over here to gofundme.com/just-informed. And I'll leave a link, but it's just, if you want to make a one-time donation, here's a way to do that. So I had to put that out there. Thank you to everybody who has done all of the donating and everything. And we're working really hard behind the scenes to make sure everything's awesome and getting perfected for your enjoyment and for your benefit. So I really appreciate all the help. And before we go, there is a piece of scripture that was brought to my attention today through my own meditation and studying of scripture that I like to do. Every day, occasionally, I take some time just to sit down and I read some devotionals. I read a few pieces of scripture. I look around for different things that could influence me to be a better person that day, or to have a message to bring to you guys here, because I always try to just get inspired by what God puts in front of me and what we've dealt with. So in this case, I think it's important. I mean, going over everything we talked about, I think what's the one thing that all of these people who are committing all of this evil lack? Ethics. They lack real ethics and morals. And Christianity actually gives us some guidelines on what our ethics should look like. Now, we're all not perfect, and we're all going to have moments where we judge, and there's going to be moments where we make mistakes, and there's going to be moments where we, do the wrong thing. And none of us are infallible to that. But mitigating that and recognizing that it's wrong and then seeking repentance, that's a part of our ethos as Christians. That's what we do. And in being a Christian, you have to subscribe to a certain level of every kind of good emotion, because you have to have those in balance and you have to have them there so that God can make them work in you. And here's just a little excerpt. It's from Romans chapter 12, verses 9 through, let's say, 21. And it's talking about Christian ethics. And I just thought this was profound. And it's tough. I'm going to warn you guys that what you're going to hear here is not easy for us to live. But it's what we should try to live by. Every day we should make the effort and reach out to God and say, God, please help us get closer to this. But here it is. It's Romans chapter 12, verse 9 and forward. Love must be without hypocrisy. Detest evil. Cling to what is good. Show family affection to one another with brotherly love. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not lack diligence. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in affliction. Be persistent in prayer. Share with the saints in their needs. Pursue hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Be in agreement with one another. Do not be proud. Instead, associate with the humble. Do not be wise in your own estimation. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Try to do what is honorable in everyone's eyes. If possible, on your part, live at peace with everyone. Friends, do not avenge yourselves. Instead, leave room for his wrath. For it is written, vengeance belongs to me. I will repay, says the Lord. But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For in doing so, you will be heaping fiery coals on his head. Do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good. And that's it. That's the way we should all live by. I know that's exactly in my heart what I do my best to do every day. One of the real parts that stood out to me is all of those lessons are true. We should live by those tenets. We should do everything we can to live by those tenets every day. But this is what it is when we talk about this evil, when we address this evil that Q's brought to our attention, these evil people who obviously don't have God or don't have a strong connection or whatever it may be, or just have evil in their hearts. It says, friends, do not avenge yourselves. Instead, leave room for his wrath. Talking about the Lord. For it is written, vengeance belongs to me. I will repay, says the Lord. And then it gets into this really profound little statement. It says, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If your enemy is thirsty, give him something to drink. For in doing so, you will be heaping fiery coals on his head. And I hope that makes sense to everybody. Kind of like the kill him with kindness thing, but a little different. Because it is not for us to judge. It is for us to let God judge. And God will be the one to take vengeance, not you or I. So the last phrase, the last piece of scripture here in this is so profound. Do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good. If we try to conquer evil with evil, it will lead to that inevitable cycle of evil begetting evil, and then nothing changes for the better. Instead, we must conquer evil with good. We must draw the good out of our hearts and put it forward as our defense and shield, our prayers, our adherence to the Lord and his teachings. That will be our shield as we go into battle against this evil. And no matter what happens to any one of us in this fight, we will know that we served God honorably and that the evil will be punished by the Lord in due time, in God's due time. So, thank you all for watching. If you don't take anything else away from this, just remember, do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good. Again, thank you guys so much. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button already. Now's a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you again for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.